Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Wednesday, October the 1st. And welcome to our commentary. Just as a heads up, this afternoon we recorded our weekly audio cast. It's more like an audio, not a video, of our chat with Bill Katz, the editor of Urgent Agenda. We've been doing that for years. For about 10 years, we've been doing this weekly. We call it the Week in Review, and we look at some of the stories of the week. We talked obviously about the shutdown politics, and I'm going to get into a little bit of that. But one of the interesting things about Bill, my friend Bill, is that he used to work in the Johnny Carson show back in the 70s. He was one of the people in the staff of Johnny Carson. His job was primarily to question the guests and to find out about them, and then of course he would present that information to Johnny. That way Johnny knew what questions to ask them and what things they were interested in for the interview. So he met everybody who was a guest on the Johnny Carson show, including Don Rickles, of whom we spoke about today. But the reason I brought up the Johnny Carson story with Bill is because today, October the 1st, 1962, this was the first Tonight Show with Johnny Carson as the moderator, as the host. Before that, the show had been hosted, I believe, that by Jack Paar for many years. And then Johnny Carson took over in 1962, and he was there for the next 30 years, as some of you remember. He finally retired, and along the way, of course, he had some of the best television ever and had some great shows and some great guests. And Bill spoke a little bit about the program and why the program was a success. And we brought this up in light of what's happening with Jimmy Kimmel and some of the problems that he's having. And the success of Johnny Carson was primarily because he understood what his job was. He said, I just want to make you laugh. I'm going to go into your home every night at 10:30 Central Time, 11:30 Eastern Time, and I'm going to go into your living room or your bedroom in many cases, because many people actually were watching the show from their bedrooms. And I'm going to go in there, and my job is to entertain you. My job is not to preach politics or whatever else people do these days. And that was a tremendous success story for Johnny Carson. As I said, there were nights in the story of the Johnny Carson show where he was getting millions. I mean, audiences of. One time I heard he had a show with an audience of 30 million people. Now, I don't know what night that was. Maybe it was the night that he said goodbye. I don't know. But over the years, he had the number one show, and every night he had audiences in the millions that would be the envy of any of the people who do those shows now. But the success of Johnny Carson, again, was that he knew what the audience wanted. And what the audience wanted was make me laugh, entertain me, because I want to go to sleep and I want to talk about your joke tomorrow morning at work. And that's what a lot of people did. I remember many times people at work the next day talking about something that Johnny Carson said. So very interesting to reminisce about Johnny Carson in light of some of the other problems that some of these late night shows are having. Of course, the reason these late night shows are having problems is because they've become political. And when you become political in your humor or your approach, well, half of the country doesn't like you. Half of the country doesn't tune you in. And when that happens, the advertisers are not happy, because if you advertise perfume, for example, you want to sell perfume to everybody, not just the women who voted for Kamala Harris. You want your perfume to reach as many people as possible. So anyway, very interesting chat that we had with Bill today, reminiscing his days over at the Johnny Carson show. Well, of course, the number one story in the country today, October the 1st, Wednesday, October the 1st, is the shutdown. Now, I have never been a fan of shutdowns because I think that they ultimately hurt both sides. And I think most Americans, they don't quite understand why these people cannot come up with a budget. I mean, if you think about it, what else do they do? So, we go through this too often, and we've had these shutdowns way too many times. And I think most Americans don't get it. And not only that, but when you shut down the government, you're hurting people. You're hurting a lot of people particularly business people, small business people who need to go to the government office and pick up a form or passports or whatever. So I've always felt that these shutdowns are counterproductive. Now, this year, I think the Republicans are explaining it better. In other words, their explanation is better than the Democrat explanation. And what the Republicans are saying is, hey, look, let's do the clean resolution here for 7 weeks, and then we'll keep negotiating. And we've got 7 weeks to do it. What the Democrats are saying is, no, we're not going to negotiate. We have to get this right now before we go any further. I don't think that's a good strategy. I think the strategy of let's keep negotiating is a better strategy, and one that, in my opinion, will win more votes than the strategy of let's shut down the government right now because we don't like what the Republicans are doing. So I think in the long run, this is a better strategy for the Republicans, frankly, than the Democrats. And so you get two issues here. You get, number one, most people don't like these shutdowns, but the party that wins, or at least, looks better, is the one who makes a better presentation, the one who makes a better presentation. And that's what I think. That's what I think is going on here, that the Republicans, at least this year, in this particular shutdown, have a better presentation than than Democrats do. So I think that the Republican base will stick together a little bit longer than the Democrat base. They've already lost three. Democrats have already lost 3 senators. And I think they'll lose more because I think in the end they're going to crack faster. And that's because it's difficult I think, for most voters to understand the position of saying, I got to have everything right now, or I'm going to shut down the government. I think that position is more difficult to explain to people than the position of the Republicans who are saying, hey, let's continue negotiating and let's keep the government open. So again, both sides lose when they do these shutdowns, but I think one side generally has a better presentation as to why they did it. And I think the Republicans in this case have a much better presentation. That is my sense of what I'm seeing now. So that's why I don't believe that this particular shutdown is going to last a very long time. I don't even think it'll make it to I don't think it'll make it to next week. I think you'll see some kind of a resolution before then, because I don't think the Democrats are gaining by what they're doing. Now, some people are wondering, why is Chuck Schumer so invested in this particular shutdown? And the speculation is that he fears that he's going to have a primary in New York when he runs for re-election. If he runs for re-election, more than likely he will. And if he does, he's going to have a primary from none other than Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez. And he fears that wing of the party, because that wing of the party is becoming very powerful. They get the job done. They go out and they win primaries. I mean, they've already brought down 2 members of Congress in New York in primaries. That's how Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez got in. And one of the others there in New York got in the same way. And I think it was in Missouri where they did something similar. So that wing of the party, the more liberal, the more leftist, maybe you want to call it that, wing of the party is very good at winning primaries. And they are ready. And I think they're going to go after Chuck Schumer. I really do. So Schumer is obviously very worried about that, because he knows they're coming after him in the primary. So he's trying to somehow make them happy at the same time that he's trying to keep a lot of Democrats happy who are not happy with that wing of the party. So, I mean, the party has a lot of problems right now. We talked a little bit about this with Bill Katz today in our interview. The party has a lot of problems. It's a very divided party. There's also a generational problem in the Democrat Party between the old and the younger generation, and they don't get along very well. So, interesting situation. I don't think this particular shutdown is going to last long because, as I said, I think that Democrats are going to figure out that, cutting a deal and continuing the negotiations is a better option than shutting down the government. So we'll see we'll see how it goes. But thanks for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.